November. Secretary Clinton, I want to move to what's been a point of friction in this primary, which is the perception is that you're too closely tied to Wall Street and that because you've accepted hefty speaking fees from some investment firms that that this makes you ill-equipped to deal with politics there, and just also to ask the question, how should the average person view this, the hefty speaking fees, essentially as nice work if you can get it, or as kind of evidence that the economy is, as you've said, rigged in favor of the powerful?
Well, look, I have a record of taking on Wall Street even when I was a senator from New York, and I take a backseat to nobody. I mean, I called them out on the mortgage crisis. I called to close the carried interest loophole. Back in 2006, I was sounding warnings about what was going on. And, of course, the Bush administration paid no attention because they were so anti-regulatory, and they basically let the financial institutions, the mortgage markets, just run to do whatever they chose to do without any interference. And I think it's fair to say that if you look at my plan, which I have put forth, it has been judged by very knowledgeable people like Paul Krugman at the New York Times as being tougher, more effective, and more comprehensive. Why? Because I go after the problems that we may face in the future. My opponent, Senator Sanders, I share his passion about never letting this happen again. And we now have, because of Dodd-Frank, the authority to break up the big banks if they pose a systemic risk to our economy. So that will be something I will watch closely. And if it appears, we will do it, because no bank should be too big to fail and no executive too powerful to jail. But that does not really approach dealing with the problems that I think are now the ones we have to worry about. Remember, back in 2008, it was an investment bank firm, Lehman Brothers. It was a big insurance company, AIG. It was not just the big banks. There were all these other elements within the financial markets. We have to go after them. We have to go after the so-called shadow banking. And the final thing I would say about this, because I do find it sort of perversely flattering, is you now have Karl Rove running an ad in Iowa trying to convince Democrats to vote against me because of, quote, Wall Street. And you have two hedge fund billionaires with a super PAC running ads here in New Hampshire and Iowa making the same case. Now, I think a sensible voter will say, well, they're not running ads against Senator Sanders. They're running ads against the person they know understands how to take them on and get results, and I will do that.
Or because they see it as a political vulnerability. Do you
well,
ever
but that's because they don't want to run against me. Of course, they're going to try.
It could be for any number of reasons.
I don't buy that. I think.
But do you ever regret having taken these fees? It's become a headache, if nothing more.
Look,
just money in the bank
I spoke to
account.
health groups. I spoke to auto dealers. I spoke to a wide array of groups who wanted to hear what I thought about the world coming off of my time as Secretary of State. I happen to think we need more conversation about what's going on in the world. I think groups that want to talk and ask questions and hear about that are actually trying to educate themselves, because we're living in a really complicated world.
Secretary Clinton, it's hard to believe we have to wrap it up here.
Oh, my goodness.